Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. Kitty and Coco, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. I'm super excited about our time together. And like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story. And our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go up to today, and then we want to talk about the Endora app. I'm a huge fan of yours already, and I've just met you. But I spent some time on your website and on the app, and looking at the app. I love what you guys are doing with nostalgia. So let's talk a little bit about your nostalgia. Where were you guys born?
Okay, well, we're actually sitting like a stone's throw from the hospital where I was born in Longview, Texas, and then Coco was born at the other hospital, like
a few blocks further
a few
down
blocks
the road.
away.
So
But
just
yes,
just for the record, you guys are sisters.
Yes.
Okay, so just so people know.
I feel like I forget to tell people that. I think it's like an assumed, and I don't know why that would be. So yes, we're sisters.
Yeah, this is so cool. Okay, so you were born in Longview, Texas. Did you grow up there?
Okay, so we lived here. Our dad has worked our entire lives for a chemical company, and they are headquartered in Tennessee, but have a pretty large operation here in Longview. So that's what brought our dad to Longview. Our mom is from here. And so born here, dad working for this company, and then he got transferred to Singapore. So when I finished 5th grade and Coco finished 3rd grade, we moved to Singapore.
Wow.
And spent 4 years there. And then we came back to Texas for a little while, moved to Chicago, moved to Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then we kind of found our ways back to Texas and, through different paths.
Okay, so this is fun. So what was your favorite thing about growing up in Singapore?
You can go first. That's a hard question.
That
to
is a
answer
hard
because
question.
Is it?
So many
Amazing.
good things.
Yes.
I think we talk all the time about how we're so grateful that we got that experience at such a young age, because it really just opened our world up to so many different people and cultures, and so many different, it was truly a little melting pot over there, and just a unique experience we weren't going to get anywhere else. So we feel really lucky that we just kind of got that world exposure at such a young age. And then that's been really a big source of creativity for us, kind of our whole lives. But it was a little bit of a unique wonderland when we got to live there. So
kind of late 90s, 2000.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And just living kind of in the middle of a jungle, but also in the middle of this huge city. We just, left East Texas, like rural East Texas, so it was quite a culture shock, but in all of the best ways. We love Singapore. So grateful for our time there.
Oh, yes.
And so there were not many bad memories made actually during that time.
I'm not sure I could think of one
So we're and we
us.
acknowledge how lucky we are to have had kind of that.
Real quick,
Bliss
where's Longview
moment.
in Texas?
Okay. Longview is on I-20, and it's like 120 miles east of Dallas and about 60 miles west of Shreveport.
Okay. So you're basically in East Texas, almost Louisiana.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we have a very unique little like cultural pocket here, and a lot of people refer to it as living behind the pine curtain.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of trees out there.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, lumber is used to be a big industry out there anyway.
Yeah.
So okay, so you go from Longview to Singapore, and then you go to Tennessee, is that right?
So we came back from Singapore to Longview.
Okay.
And so we were here for like 2 semesters, like
Okay.
overlapping 2 school years. And we spent part of that time living with our grandmother and great grandmother because our parents and 2 younger brothers went ahead to Chicago, all of this being related to our dad's work.
Right.
And so that was, kind of its own like enriching experience. But I will say, I do remember the culture shock coming back was, for like a 15, 16-year-old girl, shocking. It was quite shocking.
What was your favorite thing about growing up in Longview?
That's a hard one to answer too. So I think about this all the time. I never thought we probably can both say we never thought we would live in Longview as adults. Like if you told our teenage selves this, and I know a lot of people probably can relate, this is just not what we would have envisioned. And the way it has all played out has been so beautiful to be kind of like able to access our best like nostalgic years of like spending all of our summers with our grandmother and like being able to physically access some of those things. I feel like it's been very inspiring for us, and it's something that we feel really lucky to have. But in terms of like favorite thing about growing up, I honestly just think about like being outside on like warm summer nights.
Yeah.
Like that's the best for me. We don't care that it's hot,
I got you.
Yeah.
Texans
Something about like the spirit, the
Well,
energy. It's hard to explain.
Kind of feel lucky
Texans don't care
growing up
about
in
the
that
heat.
era
People
too.
are hardy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And just
Come
like,
on, bring it
I
on.
just remember playing outside with our neighborhood friends and being able to bike all over the neighborhood and just kind of being a little free range in that regard,
Mhm.
And I feel like that's a little bit of a forgotten,
Like bygone
era now, which is, but that's kind of, we got the classic,
Well,
upbringing in that
basically,
regard.
if you are familiar with the show Young Sheldon,
Mhm.
they have nailed East Texas, like growing up in that era to such a degree. It is such a delight. Like it's on everyone's TVs here, like on the background 24/7. If you want to understand like East Texas during that time, Young Sheldon.
Yeah.
So
They
highly,
nailed it.
That's what it was for us.
it was for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. That's cool. Okay. So you moved back to Longview in your 15 and 16 years old.
Yep.
And did you ever leave?
So then we went to Chicago. And so that was about when I got my driver's license. We played tennis together. We're on the tennis teams together. So that was kind of like I guess that's what we did in Chicago. And we lived in the suburbs, and that was a very different culture as well.
Yeah.
And I remember our first trip up there, we like learned to imitate the accents, which we thought were like so hilarious, but people thought ours were equally as hilarious, I guess. Yeah, we went to Chicago. We were only there for a year and a half. And then I started my senior year of high school in Johnson City, Tennessee. And so that would have been Coco's sophomore year.
All right.
Yeah.
So you
So
guys are a
Kitty
couple years apart.
famously was in 4 high schools in 4 different places in 4 different years. So started high school in Singapore, went to Texas, Chicago, and then East Tennessee. So it was a quick change of environments for us during that time.
Yeah. What a crazy time for you. Okay. So you guys graduated from high school
Yes.
in Tennessee?
We graduated in Tennessee. And then I went to the University of Tennessee.
Oh,
and then
you're a volunteer.
Coco came next. We're Tennessee
followed.
volunteers. And we were there for a while because then I stayed and went to law school. But we were in the same sorority. We did a lot of activities together, very involved in student government, that kind of thing. And, Tennessee, East Tennessee is very much like in the same family with East Texas for many reasons. But it really still feels like a second home. And in fact, our parents have done additional, more moves, but that's where they are now. So it's like another like nostalgic gift we get is actually getting to go back to that era sometimes. It's just very cool. But yeah, we really loved Tennessee.
So what did you major in school? What did you major in?
Okay, so I was French, Middle Eastern Studies, and International Relations.
And I was finance with an undergrad or a collateral in information management. So business. Yep.
What made you choose those majors?
Well, I definitely think, especially since, but maybe even before moving to Singapore, like our grandmother sent us had the subscription come to our house from National Geographic for kids. And so I think I was always like dreaming about another, the outside world, if you will. And so very interested in other languages, cultures, diplomacy, that kind of thing. So I think at the time I thought maybe like State Department one day, but then had also kind of been put in the lawyer lane like at an early age. So just kind of made sense to do that. But I also was part of an interesting program they had at UT. And I don't know if they let you do this anymore, but they let us kind of design our own major. So I was very lucky in that regard too. But I never thought for a second about doing anything business related.
Yeah.
I didn't think negatively of it. It just never occurred to me. But Coco, that was like her obvious. Well, I guess you didn't start there.
Right. No, I actually started as a food science major. And then that didn't last long. I switched, didn't do well in chemistry, not that interested in chemistry, but I always good at math. And so finance just sort of called my name. Business seemed sort of like the easy kind of guaranteed route. I know I can do well. I kind of coasted through all of that. And then my last semester, I took a few classes that were in information management. And so that was just to kind of beef up my finance degree that was just kind of basic. And that's actually where I started like really getting excited about some of the, tech world and that sort of thing, kind of understanding databases and information management systems and kind of how all of that stuff works. And it was as I was graduating, or I kind of joke that I think I probably would have shifted majors if I had kind of discovered that lane sooner. But then I did go and work for a fintech startup in Atlanta when I graduated. So that's kind of where my tech and entrepreneurial startup kind of background really started.
Gotcha. So you graduated from University of Tennessee a couple of years before Coco, right?
Yes.
And what do you end up doing after college?
So I actually stayed for law school. So I graduated from law school in 2010. Coco graduated from undergrad in 2009. So I was actually there like the whole time. And then our brother came, and then our other brother came. So it was kind of a family affair at that point. But so I went to law school and focused heavily on advocacy. Tennessee has like one of the country's best legal clinics. So we had the opportunity to represent people while we were in law school. And so I worked in immigration and mainly worked with the juvenile clients. I did a little bit of other work, and then worked in their Tennessee Innocence Project clinic. And so basically we worked with people on death row and, tried to get their sentences reversed, people who had, a claim that maybe there had been a wrongful conviction. And I don't know if I'm calling the clinic the right name. So disclaimer, guys, I haven't walked down memory lane in this regard in a while, but basically my clinic experience and the professors I worked with, super impactful. And then I spent 2 summers working for different public defenders. And so got a lot of, boots on the ground experience there, but always very heavily focused on advocacy. But by the time I was finished, basically the way this went down is I spent the summer in DC for my 3rd year of law school, and I worked for the public defender there. And it was a totally life-changing experience. But my best friend and roommate, he worked for his member of Congress on the Hill. And we had very different lifestyles that summer. And I was like, wow, that looks really fun. Not that I didn't love what I was doing, but I mean, it was, it was hardcore. And, but I also kind of, after that summer, I thought, there's such a big group of people in this country who are so disadvantaged from a systemic perspective. And I am going to be very frustrated, like helping them, if I don't think I'm contributing to a bigger picture. How can we change this? And so I wanted to work in Congress and get experience there. And so lucked out and got a job with a Texas congressman after law school. and had an absolutely amazing experience there.
And how long did you do that?
I did that for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and then came back to Texas temporarily to work on a political campaign. A friend of my boss's, but actually that's who had kind of like introduced us, a local politician here. And I met my husband, and he was an East Texas local, and ended up staying and got married and have kids. And here I am. And then we had to figure out how to get Coco back.
Okay. So Coco, you're in Atlanta.
Yes.
In a working for a fintech company. What do we do to get you back to Longview?
So there were some stops. There were some stops along the way. So yep, I was working for this fintech company, and then my husband and I, we started having a family, or had our 2 daughters, and I stayed home for a little bit while they were really little. And my husband got his MBA, and when he got his MBA from Georgia Tech, we relocated to Florida. So we actually moved to Orlando for a few years.
Okay.
And the pandemic hit, and things kind of all, changed completely in a bunch of different ways for us, and just kind of reevaluating, like, where do we want to really live, and how, lifestyle and everything. And so I think what really became apparent was that we wanted to live closer together, so that we could really, like, kind of, our kids are similar ages, and you really need that village.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people end up, it seems like, relocating back home who never thought that they would, kind of for that reason. And so we got the opportunity to move, and we took it. And so, now I've been here 3 years, and it seems like, we just moved here yesterday. But
isn't it amazing how parenthood changes everything?
Yes.
Like, I literally never cried before my daughter was born.
Yes.
I'm awful.
Oh,
I'm like mush, right?
it completely, I saw something today that was like, something like, want perspective, get married, want motivation, have kids. And I was like, well, ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Like, that's a great way of putting it. And it really, I don't know if it's just because everything really comes down to reflection, actually. So these situations where you are like forced to reflect, or it's kind of accelerated, or, you can't really avoid it, end up being really good things for everybody.
Yeah.
And
I always had plenty of motivation. The motivation didn't change. What changed was my emotion. Like, I found something in me that I didn't even know was there. And I mean, from the time that I announced to my friends that we were having a daughter, because we already had our oldest is a son, Michael. From the time that I announced 24 years ago that we were having a daughter, my friends have not stopped laughing since.
That's so great.
Because they knew it. They knew that I was done for. That's it.
100%.
Stick a fork in him. He's done. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. We have a really good friend who
That's
just announced that he and his wife are having a baby, and it's his first baby. We were just talking to him this morning, and I think that is exactly what's going to happen to him. And it's going to be so fun.
So the pandemic rocked everybody's world, mine included.
Yes.
It sounds like it did you guys too. Talk about that for a second.
Well, about a week before everything kind of went down in March, we had actually traveled to Florida for spring break to hang out with these guys. And we were at the beach, and my son actually was like, I don't want to go back to school. We always joke that he like willed the pandemic because, he didn't ever go back. So, we, on that trip, we had been talking for, I would say, since like November of 2019. Okay, we're ready to do something together. Let's do this. And so that trip, we're like, we're really going to do it. Well, then all of a sudden we end up essentially homeschooling 2 small children for the rest of the semester. And so no one ever saw that coming. That was a real challenge. But I do just want to say something I think about a lot, and I definitely don't want to get political, but it feels like there were so many perspectives during that time that had no voice. And, we had like resources and, weren't in horrible situations, and the pandemic was really hard on us as mothers. Well, there are a lot of moms out there. I still don't know how people made it.
Mhm.
And so just want to make that clear, but I think it was challenging for everybody, like relatively speaking. And when we came kind of to that summer, we were like, well, we don't know what's going to happen. We have to go for this. And Coco submitted an application to a pitch competition.
Mhm.
And that was kind of just how we did it,
Yeah.
and then it ended up providing the opportunity that otherwise.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.